Park Do-hyun never wanted to be a hero. He was just an engineer who liked fixing things. He worked on the human exploration ship called Horizon's Edge. And his job was simple. When something broke, he fixed it. When something needed checking, he checked it. That was all he wanted from life. But the universe had different plans for him. It started on a normal Tuesday. Do-hyun was flying a small shuttle near an old moon. His mission was easy. Find some abandoned ship parts. Bring them back. Go home. Eat dinner. Sleep. Wake up and do it all again. He was alone in the shuttle, humming a song his mother used to sing. The stars outside were beautiful, cold and distant, but beautiful. He had always loved space. It made him feel small, but in a good way, like his problems did not matter much. Then everything went wrong. A bright light surrounded his shuttle. His controls stopped working. The shuttle started moving on its own, pulled by some invisible force. Do-hyun tried everything. He pushed buttons. He pulled levers. Nothing helped. His shuttle was caught like a fish on a hook. He looked out the window and saw the biggest ship he had ever seen. It was purple and silver, shaped like a sharp blade cutting through space. It was at least 10 times bigger than the Horizon's Edge, maybe 20 times bigger. Do-hyun felt his stomach drop. He knew this ship. Everyone knew about the Valorans. The Valorans were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They were tall, much taller than humans. Their skin was violet, like the color of flowers at sunset. They were warriors, proud and fierce. They were ruled by queens, and their society valued strength above all things. And they did not like humans very much. Do-hyun's shuttle was pulled inside the massive ship. When the doors opened, he was surrounded by Valoran soldiers. They were 7 feet tall, with sharp features and cold eyes. They pointed weapons at him that looked like they could turn him into dust. He raised his hands slowly. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might explode. They took him through long hallways. Everything was clean and purple and strange. The air smelled different. The lights were too bright. Do-hyun tried to stay calm, but his legs were shaking. Finally, they brought him to a huge room. At the end of the room sat a woman on a throne made of something that looked like frozen starlight. She was the most impressive being Do-hyun had ever seen. Her skin was deep violet. Her eyes were silver. She wore armor that seemed to be made of living metal. This was Queen Yanara, ruler of the Valoran Empire. Do-hyun fell to his knees, not because he wanted to show respect, but because his legs gave up. The queen looked at him like he was an insect. A small, unimportant insect. She spoke in a language he did not understand. A soldier near her translated. The translation device made her words sound flat and mechanical. "The spy will be executed at dawn," the device said. Do-hyun's blood turned cold. Spy? He was not a spy. He was just an engineer looking for old ship parts. He tried to explain. He begged. He showed them his identification. But they did not care. To them, he was just a human, in the wrong place, at the wrong time. They threw him in a cell. The cell was small and dark. Do-hyun sat in the corner and tried not to cry. He thought about his mother back on Earth. He thought about his little sister, who was starting university next month. He thought about all the things he would never do. Then he heard a voice. "You are the human," the voice said. Do-hyun looked up. In the cell next to his, separated by glowing bars, was a young Valoran woman. She was different from the soldiers. Smaller, though still tall by human standards. Her violet skin had marks on it, scars from battles. But her eyes were not cold. They were curious. "Yes," Do-hyun said. "I am the human. Who are you?" The woman smiled. It was a strange smile, like she had forgotten how to do it properly. "I am Hana," she said. "At least, that is the name I chose for myself. My real name is too hard for human tongues." "Why are you in a cell?" Do-hyun asked. Hana's smile faded. I made my mother angry. I refused to follow her orders in battle. She put me here to teach me a lesson. Your mother? Queen Yanara. Do-hyun felt his heart stop for a moment. He was sitting next to a princess. A real princess. The daughter of the woman who was going to kill him. Before he could say anything, the ship shook. Alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. Soldiers ran past their cells, shouting in their language. Hana pressed her face against the bars. Her expression changed to fear. The main reactor, she whispered. Something is wrong with the main reactor. Do-hyun listened. He heard a sound he knew very well. A whining, grinding sound. The sound of a machine dying. He was an engineer. He knew what that sound meant. If the reactor failed, the whole ship would explode. Everyone would die. Thousands of Valorans. And him too. He stood up and grabbed the bars of his cell. I can fix it, he shouted. I am an engineer. I can fix it. The guards ignored him at first. But Hana started shouting too, in her own language. She screamed at them, until finally an officer came. After a quick argument, they opened his cell. They did not trust him, but they were desperate. Do-hyun ran to the engine room. It was hot, so hot that his skin felt like it was burning. The reactor was huge, bigger than any engine he had worked on before. But machines were machines. They all had the same basic rules. He worked for 6 hours. He burned his hands. He cut his arms on sharp metal. He did not stop. He could not stop. If he stopped, everyone died. Hana came to watch him after the first hour. She was released to help with the emergency, but she did not help with the machines. She just stood there, watching him, watching this strange human who was bleeding to save people who wanted to kill him. Finally, at hour 7, Do-hyun connected the last wire. The reactor hummed back to life. The alarms stopped. The ship was saved. Do-hyun collapsed on the floor. He was covered in sweat and blood and oil. He could not move. He could barely breathe. Hana knelt beside him. Why? She asked. We were going to execute you. Why did you save us? Do-hyun looked at her with tired eyes. Because I could, he said simply. Because people were going to die, and I could stop it. Hana stared at him for a long moment. Something changed in her eyes. Something soft. Something warm. The next morning, Do-hyun was brought before Queen Yanara again. He expected thanks. Maybe freedom. Maybe a ride back to his ship. He did not expect what happened next. The throne room was full of people this time. Hundreds of Valoran nobles stood in perfect lines, their violet skin shining under the bright lights. They wore beautiful clothes made of materials Do-hyun had never seen before. Some wore armor decorated with jewels. Others wore flowing robes that seemed to move on their own. Do-hyun stood in the middle of all of them. He was still wearing his dirty work clothes. He still had oil on his face and bandages on his hands. He felt like a rat that had wandered into a palace. Queen Yanara sat on her throne, looking down at him. Her silver eyes showed nothing. No anger. No gratitude. Nothing at all. Beside her stood 3 women who looked almost as impressive as the queen. They were her daughters, Do-hyun realized. The older princesses. They looked at him with different expressions. One seemed amused. One seemed calculating. One seemed like she wanted to tear him apart. And behind them, standing in the shadows, was Hana, the princess who had watched him work through the night. She was looking at him too. But Do-hyun could not read her expression. The queen raised her hand. The room became silent instantly. Even the air seemed to stop moving. She spoke. Her voice was deep and powerful, filling every corner of the massive room. The translation device in Do-hyun's ear turned her words into flat, mechanical sounds. But even through the bad translation, he could feel the weight of her words. Human, the device said. You have done a great service to the Valoran Empire. You saved the lives of 3,000 of my people. You saved my daughters. You saved me. For this, I will grant you a reward. Do-hyun felt hope rise in his chest. Maybe they would let him go. Maybe they would give him a ship and send him home. Maybe this nightmare was finally ending. Then the queen said something that broke his brain. My daughter likes you, and you are marrying her tomorrow. Do-hyun blinked. He was sure he had heard wrong. The translation device must have made a mistake. I am sorry, he said. What did you say? The queen's eyes narrowed. She did not like repeating herself. My youngest daughter, Hana, has declared her interest in you. In our culture, this is sacred. When a princess of royal blood chooses a mate, it is law. You will marry her tomorrow. The room was completely silent. Every Valoran was staring at Do-hyun. Some looked surprised. Others looked disgusted. A few looked like they were trying not to laugh. Do-hyun's mouth opened and closed like a fish. But, he started, I do not even know her. We just met. I am human. She is Valoran. This does not make sense. The queen's expression did not change. It does not need to make sense to you. It is our way. Hana has chosen. The wedding will happen. This is not a request. Do-hyun looked at Hana. She was still standing in the shadows, her face unreadable. Did she really choose him? Did she really want this? Or was this some kind of political game he did not understand? Wait, Do-hyun said, his voice getting louder. I have rights. I am a citizen of the Earth Coalition. You cannot just force me to marry someone. There are laws. There are rules. The oldest princess stepped forward. She was tall and beautiful and terrifying. Her armor was black, and she carried a sword at her hip that looked like it had killed many people. Human, she said, her voice cold. You are not in your Earth Coalition. You are in the Valoran Empire. Our laws are the only laws that matter here. And our law says, you will marry my sister. Another princess stepped forward. This one was thinner, with clever eyes that reminded Do-hyun of a fox. Think of it as an honor, she said with a smile that was not friendly. You are a small creature from a small species. Yet, you will become part of the greatest royal family in the galaxy. Most beings would kill for this chance. The third princess said nothing. She just stared at Do-hyun with pure hatred in her eyes. Her hand rested on her weapon like she was hoping he would give her a reason to use it. Do-hyun felt dizzy. This could not be happening. He was just an engineer. He fixed machines. He did not marry alien princesses. He did not become part of royal families. This was not his life. Back on the horizon's edge, Lieutenant Yoon Sujin was panicking. She had managed to send a message to the ship before the Valorans caught her. She told them everything. How Do-hyun had been captured. How they were going to execute him. How he had saved the ship. Now she was being held in a nice room that was definitely still a prison. 2 guards stood outside her door at all times. They gave her food and water, but they did not let her leave. Captain Bae Sunwoo received her message 3 hours later. Sunwoo was a serious man in his 50s. He had gray hair and tired eyes. He had been a captain for 20 years, and he had never lost a crew member. He was not planning to start now, but this situation was impossible. The Valoran Empire had 500 warships. The Horizon's Edge was one small exploration vessel. If he tried to rescue Do-hyun by force, his entire crew would die, and it might start a war between humans and Valorans. A war that humans would definitely lose. He sat in his captain's chair and thought for a long time. Then he made a decision. We will try diplomacy first, he told his crew. Send a message to the Valoran ship. Request a peaceful meeting. If that does not work, we will think of something else. The message was sent. The Valorans did not respond. Sunwoo sent another message, and another, and another. Finally, after 12 messages, the Valorans responded. But it was not the response Sunwoo wanted. The human engineer is now property of the Valoran crown, the message said. He will marry Princess Hana tomorrow. This is not negotiable. If you approach our fleet, we will destroy you. Sunwoo read the message 3 times. He could not believe what he was reading. Marriage. What kind of insane situation had Do-hyun gotten himself into? That night, Do-hyun sat in a new room. It was much nicer than his cell. It had a soft bed, and beautiful furniture, and windows that showed the stars outside. But it was still a prison. The door was locked. Guards stood outside. He was going to be married tomorrow, to an alien princess he had known for less than 2 days. In a ceremony he did not understand. In a culture he did not belong to. Surrounded by people who saw him as less than nothing. His life was officially insane. Then the door opened. Hana walked in. She was alone. She had changed out of her armor and was wearing a simple dress. She looked almost normal, almost human. She sat down across from him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "You did not choose this," Do-hyun said finally. "Did you?" Hana's eyes met his. "I did," she said quietly. "I chose you." "Why?" Do-hyun asked. "You do not know me. I do not know you. Why would you choose a human you just met?" Hana was silent for a moment. Then she spoke. "My whole life, I have watched my people value only one thing: strength, the ability to kill, the willingness to destroy. My sisters have killed thousands. My mother has killed millions. They are heroes because of it." She looked at the window, at the stars outside. "But you," she continued, "you were going to die. We were going to execute you. And when our ship was in danger, you did not run. You did not hide. You did not try to bargain for your life. You just helped. You bled for strangers who wanted you dead." She looked back at Do-hyun. "That is a different kind of strength. A kind I have never seen before. And I want to understand it." Do-hyun did not know what to say. He had never thought of himself as strong. He had just done what needed to be done. That was all. "There is a way out," Hana said suddenly. Her voice was very quiet now. Almost a whisper. "An old law. If a chosen mate defeats the princess in single combat, they are free to refuse the marriage." Do-hyun stared at her. "You are offering to fight me?" "Yes," Hana said. "If you win, you go free. My mother will be angry, but she will honor the old law." Do-hyun thought about this. He thought about fighting. He thought about escaping. He thought about going home. Then he thought about Hana. About her scars. About her sad eyes. About the loneliness he had seen in her when she spoke about her family. And he made a decision. Do-hyun looked at Hana for a long time. She had just offered him freedom. All he had to do was fight her and win. Simple. Easy. A way out of this crazy situation. But something stopped him. "Tell me about yourself," he said instead. Hana looked surprised. She had expected him to jump at the chance to escape. She had not expected him to ask questions. "What do you want to know?" she asked. "Everything," Do-hyun said. "If you chose me, I want to know why. I want to know who you are. Not the princess. Not the daughter of the queen. Just you." Hana was quiet for a moment. No one had ever asked her that before. In her world, she was always defined by her family. She was always the youngest daughter, the weakest princess, the one who did not fit. She sat down on the floor, crossing her legs. Do-hyun sat across from her. The stars shone through the window, filling the room with soft light. "I was born during a war," Hana began. "My mother was fighting a great battle when I came into the world. She did not even stop fighting. She gave birth between 2 battles and then went back to killing." "That sounds terrible," Do-hyun said. Hana shrugged. "It is normal for us. Velarin queens are warriors first, mothers second. I was raised by servants. I saw my mother once a month, if I was lucky." "What about your sisters?" Hana's face darkened. "My sisters see me as weak. I am smaller than them, slower. I do not enjoy killing the way they do. When I was young, they used to chase me through the ship and beat me for fun. They called it training. Do-hyun felt anger rise in his chest. That is not training. That is abuse, Hana smiled sadly. In our culture, it is the same thing. The strong survive. The weak suffer. That is the Valoran way. She looked at her hands. They were covered in small scars. I tried to be like them. She continued. I trained every day. I fought in 3 wars. I killed many enemies, but it never felt right. Every time I took a life, I felt sick inside. My sisters laugh when they kill. I want to cry. You are not weak, Do-hyun said firmly. You are different. That is not the same thing. Hana looked at him with surprise. In her whole life, no one had ever said that to her. Why are you so kind? She asked. I am forcing you into marriage. You should hate me. Do-hyun thought about this. I do not think you are forcing me, he said slowly. I think you are trying to escape too. You are trapped in a life you did not choose. You saw something different in me, and you grabbed onto it like a rope. I understand that. Hana's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them away quickly. Valoran princesses did not cry, but Do-hyun had seen them. When I watched you fix the reactor, she said, her voice shaking, I saw something I had never seen before. You were scared. You were hurt. But you did not stop. You saved everyone without asking for anything in return. She took a deep breath. My people respect strength through violence. But you showed strength through kindness, through sacrifice. I did not know such strength existed. Do-hyun moved closer to her. He reached out and took her hand. It was warm, warmer than a human hand. Her violet skin was soft. I am not a hero, he said. I am just a man who fixes things. That is all I know how to do. Maybe that is enough, Hana whispered. They sat together in silence for a while. The stars moved slowly past the window. Somewhere far away, Do-hyun's ship was waiting. His friends were worried. His captain was trying to save him, but in that moment, he did not want to be saved. Tell me about humans, Hana said finally. Tell me about your world. Do-hyun smiled. Where do I start? He told her about Earth. About the blue oceans and green forests. About cities full of lights and villages full of peace. He told her about his mother, who made the best food in the world. He told her about his sister, who was smarter than him and never let him forget it. He told her about human history, about all the wars they had fought, about all the terrible things they had done to each other, but also about the beautiful things, about art and music and love, about how humans could be cruel but also incredibly kind. We are not perfect, he said. We have done terrible things, but we keep trying to be better. That is what makes us human. Hana listened to every word. She drank in his stories like water in a desert. She had never heard anyone talk about their people with such honesty. Valorans only talked about glory and conquest. They never admitted weakness. I want to see it, she said. Your earth, your oceans, your forests. Maybe you will someday, Do-hyun said. They talked until the ship's artificial sun began to rise. They talked about dreams and fears, about hopes and regrets, about all the things they had never told anyone else. By the time morning came, Do-hyun had made his decision. I will not fight you, he said. Hana stared at him. What? The combat. The old law. I will not use it. I will not fight you for my freedom. But why? Hana asked. You could go home. You could escape this. Do-hyun shook his head. If I fight you, what happens to you? You will be shamed. Your sisters will use it against you. Your mother will punish you. You will suffer because of me. That is not your problem, Hana said. Yes, it is, Do-hyun replied firmly. You chose me because you saw something good in me. If I run away and leave you to suffer, I am not the person you thought I was. I become just like everyone else who has abandoned you." Hana's mouth fell open. She did not know what to say. But there was still the problem of the wedding. Do-hyun did not want to be a prisoner in a forced marriage. He wanted something real. Something equal. If he was going to do this, he was going to do it his way. "I have a different plan," he said. "Your mother wants this wedding to happen. Your sisters want to use it for politics. Everyone wants something from this situation, except us." "What are you thinking?" Hana asked. Do-hyun smiled. It was the smile of a man who had figured something out. "I spent all night in the reactor room," he said. "I talked to the engineers. They told me many things about Velaran culture. About your laws. About your traditions." He leaned forward. "There is something called the right of contribution. When a foreign mate joins the royal family, they must give a gift of equal value to what they receive. Is this true?" Hana nodded slowly. "Yes, it is an old tradition. Most people ignore it now. They just give some gold or jewels, and everyone pretends it is enough. But the law still exists?" "Yes." Do-hyun's smile grew wider. "Then I will use it. I will give a gift so big that even your mother cannot ignore it. A gift that changes everything." "What gift could a human possibly give?" Hana asked. Do-hyun stood up. He walked to the window and looked at the stars. "My people," he said. "The Earth Coalition. I will offer an alliance. Trade. Technology. Peace." He turned back to Hana. "Your mother thinks I am a prize to be claimed. But I am not just an engineer. I am a representative of my entire species. And I am going to show her that humans are worth more than she ever imagined." Hana stared at him with wide eyes. "You are insane," she said. "Probably," Do-hyun agreed. "But it might just work." Outside the room, the guards had no idea what was happening. They did not know that a simple human engineer was about to change the course of their empire forever. The wedding was in 6 hours. Do-hyun had a lot of work to do. The wedding hall was the most beautiful place Do-hyun had ever seen. The ceiling was made of glass, showing the endless stars above. Thousands of glowing flowers lined the walls, their light changing colors like a slow heartbeat. The floor was polished so perfectly that Do-hyun could see his own reflection looking back at him. He looked terrible. They had given him Valoran clothes, a long robe of silver and white that dragged on the floor. It was too big for him. Everything here was too big for him. He was a small human in a world built for giants, but he stood straight. He kept his head high. He was not going to let them see his fear. The hall was filled with thousands of Valorans, nobles, warriors, priests, servants. They had come from all over the empire to see this strange event. A human marrying a princess. It was unheard of. It was scandalous. It was the most exciting thing to happen in years. They stared at Do-hyun as he walked down the long aisle toward the throne. Their eyes were curious, disgusted, amused. He heard whispers in their language. He did not need a translator to know they were laughing at him. He did not care. At the end of the aisle, Queen Yanara sat on a raised platform. Her 3 oldest daughters stood beside her. Valkys, in her black armor. Morath, with her clever fox eyes. Kira, with her hand on her weapon and murder in her gaze. And there was Hana. She stood in front of the throne, waiting for him. She wore a dress made of starlight. Literally, starlight. The fabric seemed to hold tiny stars inside it, glowing and spinning. Her hair was arranged in complex patterns. Jewels hung from her ears and neck. She looked like a goddess. But when her eyes met Do-hyun's, he saw the girl from last night. The lonely princess who dreamed of something different. The woman who had cried when he held her hand. He smiled at her. Just a small smile. A secret between them. She smiled back. The ceremony began with a priest speaking in the old Valoran language. Do-hyun did not understand a word, but he stood still and tried to look respectful. The priest waved burning flowers around them. He sang songs that sounded like crying. He drew symbols on their foreheads with silver paint. It went on for 2 hours. Finally, the priest stepped back. It was time for the vows. Queen Yanara stood up. Her voice filled the entire hall without any effort. "We are gathered here to witness the binding of Princess Hana to this human," she said. The translation device in Do-hyun's ear made her words flat, but he could feel the power behind them. "By our ancient laws, she has chosen him. And by our ancient laws, he has accepted." She looked at Do-hyun. Her silver eyes were cold. "Do you have anything to say before the final vows are spoken?" This was it. This was his moment. Do-hyun took a deep breath. "Yes, Your Majesty, I do," the crowd murmured. No one had expected the human to speak. Most foreign mates just stayed quiet and let the ceremony happen. Do-hyun turned to face the crowd. His heart was pounding so hard he thought it might burst through his chest. But he kept his voice steady. "I am just an engineer," he began. "I fix machines. I am not a warrior. I am not a king. I am not important by your standards. But I am human, and humans have something that many species do not understand." He paused. "We do not give up." The crowd was silent. Every eye was on him. "Your Majesty," Do-hyun said, turning back to the Queen, "I invoke the right of contribution." A gasp went through the hall. Even Queen Yanara's eyes widened slightly. "What did you say?" she asked. "The right of contribution," Do-hyun repeated. "The ancient law that says a foreign mate must give a gift of equal value to what they receive. I am about to become part of the greatest royal family in the galaxy. That is an incredible honor. So my gift must be equally incredible." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "And what gift could a human possibly offer?" Do-hyun smiled. "An alliance," he said. "A full alliance between the Valoran Empire and the Earth Coalition." The crowd exploded. Thousands of voices talking at once. Some were angry. Some were confused. Some were laughing. But Do-hyun was not finished. He raised his hand, and slowly, the noise died down. "I know what you are thinking," he continued. "Humans are weak. Humans are small. What could we possibly offer the mighty Valoran Empire?" He reached into his robe and pulled out a small device. It was a data chip. He had asked the engineers in the reactor room to help him prepare it. They had thought he was crazy, but they had helped anyway. "This chip contains information about human medical technology," he said. "Our medicine is very different from yours. We have cured diseases that still kill Valorans. We have treatments that can extend life, heal wounds, save children." He held up the chip. "This is my first gift." Queen Yanara did not move. But her daughters were staring at him with new expressions. Even Kira looked interested. "But that is not all," Do-hyun continued. "Humans have developed new ways to grow food. We can turn dead planets into gardens. We can feed billions with very little land. Your empire is struggling to feed its outer colonies. I know this because your engineers told me." He pulled out a second chip. "This is my second gift." The crowd was completely silent now. No one was laughing anymore. And finally, Do-hyun said, looking directly at the Queen, "I offer something that no amount of gold can buy. Neutrality." He took a step toward the throne. "I know about the succession war. I know that your daughters are fighting each other for the throne. I know that your empire is tearing itself apart from the inside." The three older princesses stiffened. Kira's hand went to her weapon. Morath's clever eyes turned cold. Valkis looked like she wanted to kill him right there. But Do-hyun did not stop. "The Earth Coalition has no interest in your throne," he said. "We do not care which princess becomes queen. We only care about peace. And that makes us the perfect mediators." He turned to face the three older princesses. "Right now, you do not trust each other. You cannot negotiate because every word is a weapon. Every promise is a trap. But if a neutral party helps you talk, maybe you can find a solution that does not require more blood." He looked back at the Queen. I offer myself as that neutral party. I offer the Earth Coalition as partners in peace. This is my third gift. The hall was dead silent. Queen Yanara stared at Do-hyun for a long moment. Her silver eyes seemed to look right through him, seeing everything he was, everything he had been, everything he might become. Then she spoke. You dare to involve yourself in our succession? Do-hyun met her gaze, without flinching. I dare to try to help. That is all I know how to do. For a moment, nothing happened. The entire hall held its breath. Then Valkis stepped forward. This is ridiculous, she said coldly. Mother, this human insults us with his presence. Let me end this farce. She drew her sword. It sang as it left its sheath. A beautiful and terrible sound. But before she could move, Hana stepped in front of Do-hyun. Touch him and you touch me, Hana said. Her voice was steady. Her body was tense. She was ready to fight her own sister to protect him. Valkis stopped. Her eyes went wide. The youngest princess, the weak one, the embarrassment of the family, was standing against her. Little sister, Valkis said softly, you cannot be serious. I have never been more serious, Hana replied. The two sisters stared at each other. The tension in the hall was so thick, it was hard to breathe. Then Queen Yanara spoke. Enough. Her voice was not loud, but it cut through everything, like a blade. Valkis, put away your sword. Both princesses obeyed immediately. The queen looked at Do-hyun. Her expression had not changed, but something in her eyes was different. Something that might have been respect. You have surprised me, human, she said. That does not happen often. She stood up from her throne. The right of contribution has been invoked. The gifts have been offered. Now, we must decide if they are worthy. She walked down the steps toward Do-hyun. The crowd parted for her like water around a stone. She stopped directly in front of him. She was so much taller than him, so much more powerful. She could kill him with one hand, but Do-hyun did not look away. The queen smiled. It was a small smile, a dangerous smile. The wedding will continue, she said, and tomorrow we will discuss your gifts. She turned and walked back to her throne. Do-hyun let out a breath he did not know he was holding. He had survived. For now, the wedding ceremony ended at midnight. But Do-hyun's problems were just beginning. The next morning, he was summoned to the War Council chamber. It was a dark room filled with maps and weapons, and the smell of old battles. A huge table sat in the center, covered with holographic images of planets and ships. Around the table stood the three older princesses, and they did not look happy. Valkis stood at the head of the table. She was the eldest, and she commanded the entire Valoran fleet. 500 warships answered to her word. She was tall even by Valoran standards, and her black armor seemed to absorb all the light in the room. Morath stood to her left. She was the strategist, the thinker. Her body was thin, but her mind was sharp. She controlled all the trade routes and outer colonies. Nothing moved in the Empire without her knowing about it. Kira stood to the right. She was the youngest of the three, but also the most dangerous. She was a fighter, pure and simple. She had won more single combats than any living Valoran. Her body was covered in scars she wore like medals. And then there was Do-hyun, small, human, wearing borrowed clothes that still did not fit properly. He stood at the other end of the table, trying not to show how scared he was. Queen Yanara sat in the corner, watching. She did not speak, she just watched. Hana stood beside Do-hyun. She had refused to leave him alone with her sisters. The memory of her standing between him and Valkis was still fresh in everyone's mind. So, Valkis began, her voice like ice. The human thinks he can solve our problems. I offered to help, Do-hyun said carefully. That is all. Help? Morath laughed softly. You do not even understand our problems. You have been in our empire for 3 days. How can you possibly help with a conflict that has lasted 10 years? Because I have no stake in the outcome, Do-hyun replied. I do not care who becomes queen. I just want the fighting to stop. Kira slammed her fist on the table. The holographic images flickered. The fighting will stop when I sit on the throne, she growled. And anyone who stands in my way will die. Including you, human. Do-hyun did not flinch. He had expected this. Let me guess, he said calmly. Each of you believes you should be queen. Each of you has good reasons. And each of you is willing to destroy the empire rather than let your sisters win. The 3 princesses stared at him. He was right, of course. That was exactly the situation. For 10 years, the succession war had been tearing the Valoran Empire apart. Valkis controlled the military, but had no political support. Morath controlled the economy, but had no army. Kira was the people's champion, but had no patience for ruling. They were locked in a stalemate. No one could win. No one would surrender. And every year, more Valorans died in their pointless war. Queen Yanara had tried to solve the problem many ways. She had threatened. She had bargained. She had even locked all 3 of them in a room for a week, hoping they would work things out. They had nearly killed each other. Now the queen just watched. She was old and tired. Her time was running out, and her daughters were going to destroy everything she had built. What do you propose? Morath asked. Her clever eyes studied Do-hyun like he was a puzzle to solve. Do-hyun walked around the table, looking at the holographic map. First, I need to understand the situation better. Tell me what each of you wants. Not power, not the throne. What do you actually want? The princesses looked at each other. No one had ever asked them that question. Valkis spoke first. I want the empire to be strong. I want our enemies to fear us. I want to protect our people from all threats. Morath went next. I want the empire to be wealthy. I want our colonies to thrive. Kira was last. I want the empire to be free. I want our people to choose their own paths. I want to end the old traditions that trap us. Do-hyun nodded slowly. Those are all good things, he said. And none of them conflict with each other. Of course they conflict, Valkis snapped. To be strong, we need resources. Resources that Morath hoards for her trading schemes. And freedom means weakness. Kira would let our enemies walk through the front door. That is not true, Kira shot back. Freedom makes us stronger because our people fight with passion, not fear. Passion does not stop enemy weapons, Morath said coldly. They started arguing. Their voices got louder and louder. Old insults were thrown. Old wounds were reopened. Do-hyun watched for a moment. Then, he did something unexpected. He laughed. The princesses stopped arguing. They stared at him, like he had grown a second head. What is so funny, human? Kira demanded. You are, Do-hyun said. All 3 of you. You sound exactly like my sister and me when we were children fighting over toys. How dare you? Valkis began. But Do-hyun kept talking. You all want the same thing. A strong, wealthy, free empire. You just disagree on how to get there. But instead of working together, you fight each other. You waste resources. You kill your own people. And your empire gets weaker every year. He walked to the center of the table. What if you did not have to choose? What if Valkis commanded the military? Morath controlled the economy. And Kira led the social reforms. What if you divided the power instead of fighting over it? That is not how it works, Morath said. There can only be one queen. Why? Do-hyun asked. Because it has always been that way? Because tradition says so? He looked at each princess in turn. Traditions can change. Your mother changed many traditions in her lifetime. You could change this one. The room was silent. The princesses were thinking. Really thinking for the first time in years. Then Kira spoke. This is pointless. You cannot change anything with words, human. She stepped toward Do-hyun. Her hand went to her weapon. I challenge you to single combat, she said. If you win, I will listen to your ideas. If you lose, you die. The room tensed. Hana stepped forward, but Do-hyun held up his hand to stop her. He looked at Kira. She was a killing machine. She had trained her whole life for combat. He was an engineer who had never been in a real fight. He should say no. Any sane person would say no. Instead, he nodded. I accept. Kira smiled. It was not a nice smile. But Do-hyun was not finished. I accept, he repeated. But I choose the type of combat. Human rules. Kira's smile faded. What do you mean? There is a game humans play, Do-hyun said. We call it chicken. Two ships fly at each other at full speed. The first one to turn away loses. That is not combat, Kira said. That is suicide. Exactly, Do-hyun replied. It is not about strength or skill. It is about will. About who wants it more. About who is willing to risk everything. He looked her in the eyes. You are a great warrior. You have trained for years. In normal combat, you would kill me in seconds. But in this game, we are equal. It comes down to one question. Which of us is more stubborn? Kira stared at him. Then she laughed. A real laugh. A surprised laugh. You are insane, human. Probably, Do-hyun agreed. Kira looked at her sisters. At her mother. At Hana. Then she looked back at Do-hyun. I accept, she said. 2 hours later, they were in their ships. The contest happened in the space between the two fleets. Small fighters, fast and deadly. Everyone watched. The Valoran fleet, the horizon's edge, which had finally been allowed to approach. Thousands of eyes, on two tiny ships. Do-hyun's hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the controls. His heart was beating so fast it hurt. Every part of his brain was screaming at him to stop, to turn, to run. But he flew straight. He thought about Hana. About her sad eyes and her lonely smile. About the life they might have together. He thought about Earth. About his mother and his sister. About everything he was fighting for. He flew straight. Kira flew straight too. Her ship grew larger and larger in his window. Seconds until impact. Then, fractions of seconds. Do-hyun closed his eyes and kept flying. At the last possible moment, Kira turned. Her ship shot past him so close that his windows cracked from the pressure. But he did not crash. He did not die. He won. He won. Do-hyun's ship drifted through space. He was crying and laughing at the same time. His whole body was shaking. He had never been so scared in his entire life. But he won. When he landed back on the flagship, Hana was waiting for him. She ran to him as he climbed out of his ship. He collapsed into her arms. You are insane, she whispered. I know, he said. His voice was weak. His legs would not work. Hana held him tight. The wedding already happened, she said. You are my husband now. Oh, Do-hyun said. Good. I think I need to sleep for about 100 years. He passed out in her arms. But even unconscious, he was smiling. Do-hyun woke up 3 days later. He was in a medical room. Soft lights, warm blankets, the quiet hum of machines that were keeping him alive. Hana was sitting beside his bed. She looked tired, like she had not slept in days. You are awake, she said. Her voice was soft. What happened? Do-hyun asked. His throat felt like sandpaper. Hana gave him water, small sips. Her hands were gentle. You collapsed after the contest, she explained. The doctor said your body was in shock. Your heart almost stopped twice. They said humans are not built for that kind of stress. Do-hyun laughed weakly. I could have told them that. Hana did not laugh. Her eyes were serious. You almost died, she said. For me. For a marriage you did not choose. For people who treated you like nothing. Do-hyun reached out and took her hand. I chose this, he said. Maybe not at first. Hana's eyes filled with tears. She had been holding them back for 3 days. Now they fell freely. You are so strange, she whispered. You are the strangest person I have ever met. Is that good or bad? I do not know yet. They sat together in silence for a while. Just holding hands. Just being together. Then Hana told him what had happened while he was unconscious. After Do-hyun won the contest, Kira had kept her word. She agreed to listen to his ideas. She even admitted that she had felt something during the game. Something she had never felt before. Respect for an enemy who was willing to die for what they believed. Morath had been watching the whole thing with her clever eyes. She saw something in Do-hyun's plan. A way out of the endless war. A chance to keep her power without constant fighting. Even Valkis had started to come around. She still did not like Do-hyun. She probably never would. But she could not deny that he had courage. That counted for something in Velaron culture. The 3 princesses were actually talking to each other now. Real talks. Without weapons or insults. Queen Yanara was guiding the discussions. But Do-hyun's ideas were at the center of everything. It was not peace yet. But it was the beginning of peace. You did something impossible, Hana said. You made my sisters see each other as something other than enemies. I did not do anything, Do-hyun replied. I just gave them a reason to try. Hana shook her head. You gave them hope. They had forgotten what that felt like. A week later, Do-hyun was well enough to walk. And just in time, because a new ceremony was about to happen. The first wedding had been rushed and political. This second ceremony was different. It was the traditional Valoran binding, a sacred ritual that had been practiced for thousands of years. It took place on the temple ship. This vessel was older than the empire itself. It drifted through space like a sleeping giant, covered in ancient symbols and holy lights. Inside, there were gardens. Real gardens, with living plants and flowing water and air that smelled like flowers. Do-hyun had never seen anything like it. The ceremony was small, only close family and important witnesses. No crowds, no politics, just the 2 of them. Hana wore a simple white dress, no starlight, no jewels, just white cloth against her violet skin. She looked more beautiful than ever. Do-hyun wore a simple robe as well. This time, it fit properly. The Velaran servants had made it just for him. Captain Bae Sunwoo was there as Earth's official representative. He still could not believe what was happening. His engineer was marrying an alien princess. His report to Earth Command was going to be very interesting. Lieutenant Yoon Soo-jin was there too. She was Do-hyun's witness. She had cried when he asked her. She was crying now too. Happy tears. The priest spoke words in the old language, different words from the first ceremony. These words were about love and promise and forever. Do-hyun could not understand them, but he could feel their meaning. Then came the exchange of blood marks. In Valoran tradition, married couples shared their blood. A small cut on each palm. Then they pressed their hands together, mixing their blood. It symbolized becoming one person. Do-hyun was terrified, not of the pain. He had felt worse during his time in the reactor room. He was terrified of doing it wrong, of messing up this sacred ritual, of embarrassing himself and Hana in front of everyone. But Hana guided his hand. She made the cut on his palm gently. Then, she cut her own palm. Their blood was different colors. His was red. Hers was darker, almost purple. When they pressed their hands together, something strange happened. A warmth spread through Do-hyun's body, starting from his palm and moving outward. It was not painful. It was not scary. It felt like coming home after a long journey. It felt like finally being complete. He looked at Hana. Her eyes were wide. She was feeling it too. The priest said something in the old language. Later, Hana would translate it for him. Two who were alone are now together. Two hearts that were searching have found home. Let no force in the universe tear them apart. Then it was done. They were married. Really married. Not just politically, but spiritually. The ceremony ended with a feast. A small feast. Just for the witnesses. But the food was amazing. Strange dishes that Do-hyun had never tasted before. Some were delicious. Some were terrible. He ate everything anyway, because Hana was watching him with a smile. Captain Sunwoo sat beside him at one point. "You know," he said quietly, "when I sent you on that salvage mission, I did not expect this." Do-hyun laughed. "Neither did I, sir." Sunwoo was quiet for a moment. "Your mother has been sending messages," he said. Do-hyun felt tears sting his eyes. "Tell her I am okay. Tell her I will visit soon. Tell her I love her." "I will," Sunwoo said. Then he added, "You know, I am proud of you. You were just an engineer, but you might have changed the course of history." Do-hyun shook his head. "I am still just an engineer. I just fix things. That is all I did here. Something was broken, and I tried to fix it." That night, Do-hyun and Hana sat together on the temple ship's observation deck. The stars spread out before them like an endless ocean of light. "Are you happy?" Hana asked. Do-hyun thought about the question. Really thought about it. "I am scared," he admitted. "I am in a place I do not understand. Married to someone from a completely different species, trying to stop a war that is not my fight. I have no idea what I am doing." "That does not sound like happy," Hana said. Do-hyun smiled. "But I am also excited," he continued. "I have a chance to do something meaningful. I have met amazing people. And I have you." He took her hand. "So, yes. I am happy. Scared, and confused, and completely lost. But happy." Hana leaned her head on his shoulder. "Good," she said. "Because I am scared too. And I would rather be scared together than safe alone." They sat together and watched the stars. But their peace did not last long. The next morning, warning alarms screamed through the fleet. Valkis had attacked. Her ships were firing on Morath's forces. The succession war had gone from cold to hot in an instant, and Do-hyun was caught right in the middle of it. The space around the flagship was on fire. Valkis had made her move. Her black warships cut through the void like angry shadows, firing on anything that carried Morath's colors. Explosions lit up the darkness. Ships burned and broke apart. Thousands of Valorans died in seconds. Queen Yanara stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching her empire tear itself apart. Her face showed nothing, but her hands gripped the railing so hard that the metal bent. "This is what I feared," she said quietly. "All my years of ruling, and it ends like this." Do-hyun stood beside Hana, watching the battle through the massive windows. His heart ached. All his work, all his plans, all his hope. Was it all for nothing? No, he would not accept that. "Your Majesty," he said, stepping forward. The Queen looked at him. Her silver eyes were tired. "What can you do, human?" "Valkis commands half the fleet. She has been planning this attack for months. Words will not stop her." "Maybe not," Do-hyun admitted. "But I have to try. If there is even a small chance, I have to try." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Very well. I will give you authority to speak for the crown. But if you fail, I cannot protect you from what comes next." "I understand." Hana grabbed his arm. "I am coming with you," she said. Do-hyun wanted to argue. He wanted to keep her safe. But he saw the determination in her eyes. She was not asking permission. "Together then," he said. They took a shuttle to a neutral station called Kepler's Hope. It was an old trading post, built before the war started. Neutral ground, a place where enemies could talk without weapons. Getting the three princesses to the station took 3 weeks of negotiations. 3 weeks while the war raged around them. 3 weeks of messages and promises and threats. But finally, they came. Valkis arrived first. She walked into the conference room like she owned it. Her black armor was scratched and dented from battle. She looked at Do-hyun with cold eyes. "This is a waste of time," she said. "I am winning." "Why should I negotiate?" "Because winning is not the same as ruling," Do-hyun replied. "You can destroy Morath's fleet. You can kill Kira's supporters. But then what? You will rule over ashes. Your empire will be weak. Your enemies outside will attack. Everything your mother built will crumble." Valkis said nothing. But she sat down. Morath arrived next. She looked exhausted. Her clever eyes had dark circles under them. The war was costing her everything. She sat across from Valkis. The two sisters did not look at each other. Kira was last. She was the only one who did not seem tired. She seemed excited. Like this was all a great adventure. She threw herself into a chair and grinned at Do-hyun. "I still think you are insane," she said. "But I like you. Let us see what you can do." Do-hyun stood at the head of the table. Hana stood beside him. Queen Yanara watched through a video screen. Too weak to travel in person. He took a deep breath. "I am not going to pretend I understand your culture," he began. "I am a human. I have been in your empire for less than 2 months. I do not know your history, your traditions, your pain." He looked at each princess in turn. "But I know what I see. 3 brilliant women, each one capable of greatness, destroying each other. Instead of building something together," Valkis made an angry sound. Do-hyun held up his hand. "Please. Let me finish." She fell silent. "On my world," Do-hyun continued, "we have a saying. Many hands make light work. It means that problems that seem impossible alone become easy when people work together." He pulled out a small device and projected a hologram over the table. It showed the Valoran Empire. All its planets, all its territories, all its problems. "Your empire is too big for one person to rule," he said. "Your mother knew this. That is why she struggled. That is why you are fighting. You are fighting over a prize that no one can actually claim." He pointed at different parts of the hologram. "Valkis, you understand military strategy better than anyone. You could protect the empire from outside threats. But you do not understand economics or politics." He pointed at another section. "Morath, you understand money and trade. You could make the empire wealthy beyond imagination. But you do not understand people or passion." He pointed at the last section. "Kira, you understand the common people. They love you because you are one of them. You could lead reforms that make the empire stronger from within. But you do not have patience for long-term planning." He turned off the hologram. "Alone, you are each incomplete. But together, you could be something incredible. A council of queens. Each one ruling her own area. Each one supporting the others." The room was silent. Morath spoke first. "That goes against every tradition we have." "So did marrying a human," Hana said quietly. "But here we are." Valkis shook her head. "Even if I agreed, how would it work? Who makes the final decisions? Who leads in times of crisis?" "You would," Do-hyun said. "In military matters, you would have final authority. In economic matters, Morath decides. In social matters, Kira leads. And for things that affect everything, you vote. What if there is a tie?" Do-hyun smiled. "Then your mother breaks the tie. Until she passes. After that, you must learn to agree." Kira laughed suddenly. "You want us to compromise," she said. "Like children learning to share toys." "Yes," Do-hyun admitted. "Exactly like that. Because right now, you are acting like children fighting over toys. And thousands of people are dying because of it." The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, Queen Yanara spoke from the video screen. "He is right," she said. Her voice was weak but clear. "I have watched you fight for 10 years. I have tried everything I could think of. But I never tried the simple answer. I never asked you to share." She coughed. She looked frail. She looked old. "I do not have much time left," she continued. "I can feel it. Before I die, I want to know that my empire will survive. That my daughters will survive. Please. For me. Try this." The three princesses looked at their mother. They saw what Do-hyun saw. A queen at the end of her reign. A mother who loved them despite everything. Valkis was the first to move. She stood up and walked around the table. She stopped in front of Morath. "I have hated you for a long time," she said. "But I am tired of hating. I am tired of war. I am tired of watching our people die." She held out her hand. "Sister, let us try something different." Morath stared at the hand for a long moment. Then she took it. Kira stood up next. She walked over to join them. She put her hands on both of their shoulders. "This is going to be a disaster," she said with a grin. "But it will be fun." The negotiations that followed were brutal. They argued about everything. Borders, resources, titles, laws. Every detail was a battle. But they did not give up. Do-hyun guided them through the hardest parts. He had patience that amazed everyone. When they were about to fight, he calmed them down. When they were about to give up, he pushed them forward. When they could not see solutions, he found them. 1 year later, the Council of Queens was officially formed. Valkis became High Admiral, commander of all military forces. Morath became Grand Merchant, controller of all trade and economy. Kira became Voice of the People, leader of all social reforms. And Hana? She was given a new title, Ambassador to Humanity. She and Do-hyun would be the bridge between two species. On the day the council was announced, Queen Yanara called Do-hyun to her private chamber. She was in bed. She was very weak now. The doctors said she had weeks left. Maybe days. "Sit," she said. Do-hyun sat beside her bed. He took her hand. It was cold. "I knew about the loophole," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper now. "The right of contribution. I knew you would find it." "You planned this?" Do-hyun asked. "I hoped," Yanara said. "When Hana chose you, I saw an opportunity, a way to bring something new into our empire. I did not know if it would work, but I hoped." She smiled. It was a real smile. Warm and proud. "You did not disappoint me, human." She closed her eyes. "Take care of my daughter. Take care of my empire." "I will," Do-hyun promised. "I swear it." Queen Yanara, greatest ruler in Velaron history, died 3 days later, but her empire lived on, and it was stronger than ever. 1 year after that, Do-hyun and Hana stood on their new ship. It was a hybrid vessel, built using both human and Valoran technology. They called it the Bridge. Hana was trying to cook Korean food. She was terrible at it. The rice was burned. The vegetables were mushy. The meat was somehow both overcooked and raw. Do-hyun ate it anyway. Because she made it for him. Because she was trying. Do-hyun 70. Do-hyun 70. Do-hyun 70. Do-hyun 70. Do-hyun 70. Do-hyun 70. "This is disgusting," Hana said, tasting her own cooking. "It is perfect," Do-hyun replied. She hit his shoulder. But she was smiling. Later, they stood on the observation deck together. The stars spread out before them. Endless possibilities. Endless adventures. "Scared?" Hana asked. "Terrified." "Good, me too." She took his hand. "Let us be terrified together." Do-hyun looked at his wife, his alien princess, his partner in everything. He thought about how strange life was. He had started as a simple engineer, just a man who fixed things. Now he was married to royalty. Now he had helped save an empire. Now he was part of something bigger than himself. He did not know what the future would bring. More challenges, probably. More dangers. More impossible situations that needed fixing. But he was ready. Because he was not alone anymore. And together, they could face anything.